Oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. On Sundays, after I complete teaching in the mornings, then lots of people come and ask me administrative questions about the ashram. And then I'm the last person to leave our top floor. I turn the lights off, I bow down to Bhagwan. It's my debrief time. So the other day, as I was leaving the shoe area, someone had left their water bottle, reusable water bottle. And the quote caught my attention. What this water bottle said: "It's a good day to be happy." It's a good day to be happy. That is a really practical message. Can you name all the days that are good to be happy? Every day, every date is a good day. Really, it's the only day to be happy. And that's what we invest in Meaningful Mornings. Especially knowing this week we're going to complete 150 weeks of flowing through the Bhagavad Gita. After this morning's verse, we will be in the final 30 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So lots of reasons to be happy, a couple of more. Last night, we had a prayer in sacred solidarity for the sorrow that is being experienced in Palestine. And so many of you came in such a passionate way. It was very heart-filling. And one more reason for us to be happy: two seekers in our community who are from Houston and Detroit, that is Gaurav and Nishi, they just had a baby. Her name is Mira. So lots and lots of reasons to be happy. We wish them the best. Shri Krishna has encouraged us throughout the Bhagavad Gita to live for him. Synonyms for him are divinity, or more traditionally, Bhagavan. I have explained this, I'm going to explain it again. The word Bhagavan can be translated as God, but the more meaningful definition, the one who has all virtues in all ways. That person would be godly, correct? That person would be God, the one who has all virtues in all ways. How can one be the one who has more virtues in more ways so that we can reach all virtues in all ways? The how is explained in detail starting in verse 45. The how is Swadhyaya, Swabhava, Swakarma, Swadharma. It is through self-reflection, one comes to self-understanding, one comes to self-responsibility, and all of these points will lead to the end, which is Swadharma, the self. Not the individual self, the infinite self. In verse 46, Krishna is continuing to explain how does one live for divinity. Tam abhyarchya. For divinity, you live. For divinity, you treat your work as worship. please try to logically, try to faithfully understand actions cannot create infinity. Since actions cannot create infinity, it is one's attitude or intention that can help one remember infinity. Abhyarcha, which means to worship, it is not about chanting and flowers. It is about your reasoning. Other words are attitude, intention. In verse 47, Sri Krishna has shared what Pujya Swami Tejomayananda has simplified as simple living, high thinking. Simple living, this is your responsibility. Lock that in and see how simple matters become. And when one's lifestyle is simple, the opportunity for their vision to be high thinking is so much more. Verse 45 is about simple living. Verse 46 is about high thinking. Final two reflections before we move on. Yesterday I invested a lot in reference to how do we go about freeing ourselves from vasanas, and a light word for vasana is vices. And the three methodologies are exhaustion, which pulls substitution, which pulls disidentification. And one of the final systems that Sri Krishna shares in the entire Bhagavad Gita, he's trying to push us into exhaustion, vasana exhaustion. In this chapter I'd shared, you keep doing and you'll keep on purifying. Does this make sense to everyone? Prince Arjuna wants to escape. He wants to change his name, his form. Shri Krishna is sharing, where will you go? What will you become? Your circumstance is custom designed for you. You need not change your actions, change your attitude. This morning, I had two one-with-ones. And one of the Devis was sharing how she really wants to live in Bharat. And I said, me too. But then we both came to the understanding that where we are in our lives right now is training for us to be happy wherever we are. It's a good day to be happy. It's a good place to be happy. Final reflection, and this is more of a technicality. The only time you can engage in another's responsibility where it will help your exhaustion or evolution is known as apat kala. Apat means an emergency. During a time of emergency, you can engage in another's responsibility. Now, apat kala is not to be normalized. It is an emergency. Even when you're on the highway and you see an ambulance on the highway, they only turn their siren on when there's cars around. Otherwise, they don't have their siren on. They just have their lights on. I like this understanding of apat kala. When we were in the ashram, there weren't too many outlets to be imaginative or silly. So we would always imagine that we're in this apat kala right now. We're in this emergency time. And it was just a joke amongst we brahmacharis and brahmacharinis, which you don't get. But I just felt like I had to share it. We are now into a subtle verse. requires a lot of reflection and acceptance. Verse 48. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumenagnir ivavritaha. Joy. Kaunteya, Prince Arjuna, I'm looking in your eyes and I'm speaking to you in a most personal way. Sahajam karma, the actions that have come from what you need to do. Actions that are born from your birth, your personality type. Put very simply, you and your responsibilities are custom designed. Sahaja means born from oneself. Based on the birth of this body comes a lot of other births, like your parents, like your siblings, like the city you live in, the school you go to. Now Shri Krishna follows this up with Api. These are your responsibilities, and even though sadosham, they may be faulty, imperfect, na tyajet, still you're not to let go of these. Still, you're to follow through with these. The subtlety of what's being shared here. What makes our responsibilities possibly filled with doshas? Selfishness, I-ness. For the mobilizer who's trying to earn a profit, they're more selfish than the thinker who's trying to encourage others to be happy. But the mobilizer can't do what the thinker can do and shouldn't. Distilling this more, what Sri Krishna is zooming into, you are to follow through with your responsibilities because this is for your evolution. He is evolution. The difference between evolution and revolution, evolution is inside, revolution is outside. Evolution is slow. Revolutions can happen fast. Which is why one of the important words in our community is steadiness. Those who are steady, they're living by this first line. Third quarter, sarvarambha, all that one undertakes or starts, he indeed, doshena, it is filled with fault, imperfection. Anything you do in terms of action. Now, the implication of this is actions logically are going to be imperfect. Our bodies are limited. What our bodies are using are limited. Yesterday morning, I had to cancel my 1-with-1 because Wi-Fi wasn't working. That action is imperfect. And Shri Krishna is pointing this out so that we care less about the action and more about the attitude. That is what's going to free one, not the karma, but the yoga part of it. Our actions can be perfect. I hope I didn't say actions. I meant our attitude can be perfect. See? That was me doing this in live time or real time about this imperfection. And I feel Meaningful Mornings is very good at refining our attitude. More and more and more tightening. But here's one more thought. Even our attitude cannot be perfect. Cannot be. However, our Creator is so gracious As long as we improve our attitude, even though it's imperfect, that's good enough for him. One of Bhagwan Shiva's names, it's my favorite name of his, is Ashutosha, the one who's easily pleased. And Sri Krishna gives a visualization. The way a fire is covered by smoke, actions are covered by imperfection. So here's our final reflection to be really clear about how important your attitude is. When the selfish and the selfless person engage in the same karma, but the selfless person, their attitude is different. They're engaged in their responsibility as abhyarcha, worship. The karma is the same, but the phala is so different. Externally and internally, the result is exponentially better for the one with this beautiful intention. Please reflect lots on this verse. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to follow through with scheduling, inviting, planting, donating, collecting. By a show of hands, how many of you have done all 5? Good. I see 1 hand up. Should we start exchanging? If you don't do for me, then I won't do for you. Should we operate like that? That's how we operate with our kids. In terms of percentages, you have been great in terms of planting. We've now reached 122% of our aspiration. In terms of donating for water for people, we've now reached 85% of our aspiration. In terms of collecting litter, we're at 41% of our aspiration. In a 1-with-1 I had yesterday, a Devi who gets an hour off for work. During that hour off, she goes for a walk around her neighborhood or workplace, and she brings a bag. And that's how she's populating us, our community, reaching 1,008 hours of collecting litter. Your application for this morning is for you to reflect on these 3 words that are making up one word. Krita, nya, ta. Krita means what has been done for you. Nya means to know this. And ta means to reciprocate. Kritagnyata means gratitude. Tomorrow, for our celebration, can you make your kritagnyata more authentic and deep? Shanti, shanti, shanti hi. Ijo.